I've been doing this series for a while, but this is my first time analyzing a fight scene from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I like to take an individual action or combat sequence, go through frame by frame, and break down the animation, choreography, and design of the scene to really take it all in. See the small bits you might have missed. It's a lot of fun. And Avatar: The Last Airbender is a fantastic show to analyze a fight scene for. Avatar needs no introduction, it's phenomenal, and one of the biggest pieces of praise the show deservedly gets is how stellar the animation is. The world, characters, actions, all of it is so much more stylized and expanded on, especially compared to Nickelodeon's usual cartoons. Each bending style is inspired by various actual martial arts techniques, so the combat naturally has a different flow compared to what we'd normally see in a Western media combat. It's really awesome. And, as usual, my beautiful patrons voted on which action scene they wanted to see me break down. And if you want a chance to vote on a future analysis like this, consider becoming a patron. And real talk, they had no bad options. Avatar is filled with great scenes to break down. But man, I am so happy they picked the iconic three-way standoff from Book 2, The Chase.
Yes! I really do.
Book 2 is my favorite season of the show, and this episode is hands down one of the biggest highlights for me. It perfectly introduces more of Toph's personality into the gang's crew, nails Avatar's humor while also being a roller coaster of an episode. It's filled with emotional turmoil, and the big finale between Aang, Zuko, and Azula really is one of the most bittersweet moments of the show. The whole premise feels so big, you'd expect it to be like a mid-season finale or something. But no, Avatar's just that good. Well, I've hyped up the encounter enough by now, let's dive right in.
I must find the Avatar to restore my honor.
It's okay. You can laugh. It's funny.
It will never stop being amazing to me how Avatar can sprinkle in comedy to such legitimately tense moments, and still make the joke land. They juggle tone masterfully. But for real, what a crazy introduction to Azula. We, the audience, have been with her for quite a bit now, but Aang has only briefly encountered her before. This is the first time they're really having a conversation with her. On that note, it's crazy remembering this is the first time Aang has seen Zuko since the North Pole. He and Iroh have been on the run since the start of the season. Fun fact, before writing this script, I thought a Mexican standoff just meant a standoff that involved 3 individuals, but no, it's actually about how they enter a pseudo-stalemate where they gauge whether or not they could make the first move without putting themselves at risk. It typically involves 3 combatants, but that doesn't necessarily mean it couldn't also involve more or less. You learn something new every day. I love this moment when Zuko adjusts his grip? Is that the word I want to use? Hand pose? Just that little twitch, a tiny readjustment we don't see from the other two. It makes sense since Zuko is kinda obviously the least composed of these 3 characters.
What turmoil!
But also, Zuko in general is also the least skilled in combat here. Not to say he can't hold his own, but it's pretty obvious he isn't nearly as good of a firebender as Azula, and he doesn't have as much of an arsenal as Aang. You know what's crazy? He never uses his swords in this fight. I bet if he had utilized his swords, really catching the other 2 off guard because they've never seen him fight with them before, he might have held out a bit longer than he actually does in the long run. And we're off. Azula registers Zuko, after all these years, is still in fact a weaker bender than she is. He notices her noticing this, just as Azula fires her first shot. Also, shout out to the fact that the sun is behind Azula here. The sun is in the boys' eyes, giving her a natural advantage. I'm not sure if she did this on purpose, but she would definitely realize it in the moment. Also, little thing, I love that Azula's fire burns blue. Fire turns blue when it's hotter, which not only highlights Azula's power level and makes her look cool and different compared to other firebenders, but in instances like this one, we can still clearly tell which fire blasts is coming from which character. If Azula and Zuko's fire both burned orange, it would get a little confusing. Since Zuko realized Azula's strike was incoming, he had time to throw up a spinning flame shield to stop her flames. However, he also tried to jump backwards at the same time, and the force of Azula's hit pushes him over and he lands on his back. That's really really the secret of it. At the end of the day, Zuko has great offense, but his defense is absolute trash. Homeboy can't block or dodge to save his life, and it always screws himself over in the long run. I like how we cut to Aang's shocked expression, like he really didn't expect Azula to go for Zuko first. Again, this is him learning who exactly Azula is. Actions speak louder than words.
Hell no. To the no, no, no.
If we go frame by frame, we can actually see this little blue, like, reversed teardrop shape above Azula before she starts actually bending fire. I wonder if this is just the animation for the flame popping up a little too early, or if it was meant to be like a placeholder for where the flame would go that made it into the final render. Her flame wall move is crazy. Like, she really shows off just how powerful she is here. Also, shout out to Aang for thinking quickly and realizing he can't just fly out of this situation. He sure did wait for the last minute though. He had to have felt the heat of her fire long before he actually turned around to disperse it. Like, to turn blue, fire has to be over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, or over 1,400 Celsius. Aang would be toasty if he waited that long. Somewhere in Aang's recovery, Azula got on the roof. She's fast. Aang has just enough time to roll out of her way, but now she's right in front of him. She's kind of got him dead to rights. She scoops up his staff as he continues to push himself away from her, and then just yeets it off screen. She does a spinning flame kick, but Aang is already way out of range for it. Aang is also fast. Zuko has finally gotten back up, and we can see Aang actually airbended himself upward when avoiding Azula's low kick. Zuko misses a couple of fire blasts while Aang dodges them with, honestly, very little effort, it seems. Listen, Zuko's a bit rusty. Also, he is very much not as fast as the other two. I didn't expect to put Zuko through the ringer in this video, I'm sorry. Aang notices Azula has recovered from her kick and twirls to narrowly avoid her return fire, and I mean narrowly. I'm amazed his shawl didn't catch on fire here. He actually twirls right past her, and she turns her back to Zuko to continue her barrage. She has her priority of catching the Avatar, and she's not worried about Zuko. We then cut to this absolutely awesome wide shot. Azula fires at Aang, who dodges, then returns with a blast of air at her. She deflects it with her arms, but you can see Zuko back here readying a follow-up, seeing Aang throwing his air blast. Zuko charges up his own fire blast. However, his wind-up takes too long and Azula had time to try her own return fire and made Aang jump out of the way of both of their strikes. Azula throws a curveball flame, which is crazy. Aang jumps over it, but it curves into Zuko, who ducks to avoid it while Azula throws a second one back to Aang. I like the fact Zuko predicted the curveball, like he knows Azula's techniques enough to see this one coming. She and Zuko both throw one last fireball for this segment, both missing their targets. Real talk, I think Zuko was aiming for Azula, but he totally just threads the needle between the both of them. In real time, this whole barrage is only 2 seconds long. That's crazy. Being able to jam that much into only 2 seconds and keep it all readable and easy to follow. We cut to a close-up of Azula doing some techniques, and with how she's aimed, you'd think she'd be returning fire to Zuko, but right at the end turns back to face Aang again. She's good at misdirection. It's hard to predict where she'll actually strike because she's so fast and can pivot nearly instantly to throw off her opponents. We then jump to the super far back long shot where it's the two boys trying to get Azula while her back is turned to them, but she's just too good at avoiding them, even ending it off with a double direction attack to get both of them to take a step back from her. Azula, with the exception of the first strike at Zuko, has solely prioritized aiming for Aang. She has turned her back to Zuko at least 3 times now, and Zuko seems to be getting pissed about it. He does an insane vertical transitioning into a spinning overhead drop kick, which would require a ton of core strength. The angle this move is shot, I never remember he's actually aiming for Azula here. I always think he's vaulting over her to reach Aang. He also landed on his toes, which would absolutely suck. That would hurt so bad. And then he does this sort of heel stomp flashbang thing. When we cut to the wide shot though, we see Azula has already done her own protective countermeasures. A lot of Azula's actions happen between shots, like how she just suddenly got on the roof earlier. The fact we, the audience, can't seem to keep up with her her is a form of visual storytelling to display her speed. It's meant to make you feel like it's impossible to actually keep up with her, which is a unique way of doing this. As the flames dissipate, Zuko does a crazy taco maneuver to dodge Azula's follow-up. I thought maybe he'd do that cool guy thing where you launch yourself off of your back up onto your feet, but no, Zuko is not that cool of a guy yet. He instead tries a punch, and I really love this angle for the rest of this combo. It really highlights the differences in how the siblings fight. Azula is very angular. She bends and makes straight, hard lines when she moves. Zuko is very boxy, wide stances, open up arms, and is still comparatively clumsy flails to his movements. I really love seeing the two benders of the same element displaying such wildly different techniques. Azula throws up a wall of flame to try to hit Zuko after his jump to get out of her range, then without missing a beat, turns around to shoot back at Aang, who's once again airborne. Aang totally wasn't expecting her to realize he's up there too. Look at his surprised little face. It's fun seeing the differences between Aang ballerina spinning up these stairs versus Azula just regular human running. This face Aang makes before running into the building, I don't know why, it's one of my favorites. It's so funny to me. Again, so good at splashing in comedy. Also, from a combat perspective, a genius move on Aang's part. We know he's a pacifist and doesn't want to kill anybody, so we know this fall wouldn't have been fatal, so when Zuko comes charging in, we know he's not too seriously injured, so it doesn't ruin the comedic aspect of the fall. But again, highlighting their different skill sets. Azula has great recovery and is very acrobatic. Zuko isn't those things. Aang doesn't usually just strike someone, like physically hitting them. If anything, he'll use bending to hit you. So I don't know why, but it's so funny to me that Aang just straight shoves Azula here. One of the few times he actually throws hands, and it's to just push Azula down a hole. Azula also usually pretty good at keeping up with her opponent, but she straight up did not move at all when Aang ran along this edge. Is it even a surprise at this point Azula can land perfectly gracefully on her feet while Zuko totally biffed it? I wonder how Azula got her flame strikes all the way up there when she was on the ground floor. Maybe it was another curveball flame like she did before. Oof, direct hit on Zuko. This move knocks him out for most of the rest of the encounter. She doesn't even give Zuko a second glance. It's just back to chasing down Aang, who seems pretty dang shocked Zuko's been taken out like this. Azula usually stays pretty stern when fighting, but she does crack a smile here when she closes in on Aang. I think she's realizing this is coming to an end in her favor. Aang's wall jump move is awesome, but I also love how this shot displays how Azula's flames fade to orange as they cool down. It's a nice touch. Also, I think her plan was to get Aang to jump up to the roof, so then she could do that thing cutting out the roof from underneath him. She didn't need to light the room on fire, but Azula does love to be a little extra every now and then. Aang should totally be able to get out from underneath this rubble, but I think he was just more dumbfounded at exactly how brutal and confident Azula is here. And now, Azula's biggest weakness. She never expects backup to arrive, so she never pays attention to the larger surroundings. She doesn't ever rely on anyone to swoop in to help her, so she never expects it'll happen for others. She seems to have had eyes on the back of her head all fight, but somehow manages to get caught off guard by all three of the others in the gang. It's crazy Azula lets herself get distracted with Katara. She's prioritized Aang all fight, so to turn around and try to chase down Katara is fascinating. I wonder if it's because she doesn't know the extent of Katara's threat level to her, so she's giving chase as a precaution, or perhaps she underestimates Katara and thinks she can take her out right away. I love this shot of Azula chasing down Katara. Look at her. She looks like a warrior. She looks like a javelina chasing down its prey. She looks like she's gonna mug Katara. She's so broad and fierce and intimidating. It's so cool. Aang might be a pacifist, but Sokka was totally trying to kill her here. Like, he misses. Azula dodged, but if he had actually landed that hit, he would have severely hurt her.
Uncle.
Get up.
Iroh's usually so calm sounding. It's like unsettling hearing him be so stern here. It's like when your great-grandmother gets mad at you, it hurts more. Cutting back to the heroes, the three have circled Azula, and she seems to have gone back to prioritizing Aang. Maybe realizing 3 versus 1 aren't stellar odds, and is trying to just get Aang out of the way so she can escape with him, showing off her lightning-fast reflexes again, blocking Katara's water whip and sending a blast of fire towards Sokka too. Look, for 1 frame, Azula's fire is incorrectly layered behind Sokka. Since he should be in the background, it should actually be layered over him. Wow! I like how Azula can feel something's wrong with her footing even before Toph moves her, which also, how do you think Toph did this? It's not like the ground visibly moves beneath her, so I always thought Toph was earthbending the sand below Azula and just slightly pushing her that way. It's an awfully subtle technique for Toph to use though, but it's also kinda cool seeing earthbending done with some subtlety. Although maybe she is moving the earth, because clearly when we pan down, the dirt moves to the right side of the screen, but when we pan back up, Toph is still center screen in this alleyway Azula was center screen in front of before. Look at how sausagey Azula's fingers are here. Ew. The gang was kind of circling Azula before, but now she blows 2 shots towards the right side of the screen where Sokka and Toph emerge, while Aang and Katara come from the left side. The continuity between the shots have been pretty dang perfect up until now, so I'm willing to let this slide. After all, not only is it hard to keep track of 5+ characters, but also with the alleyways and the buildings of the environment, they can cover up most of the mistakes between shots. God, he's so cool. Just stops her dead in her tracks. Forget about the wall of bossing, say. Iroh's a wall in his own right. Also, I appreciate the whimsy of including the bouncy sound effect too. This, mixed with Toph rejoining the squad, really picks the mood back up right before the big bad finisher.
Look at this. Enemies and traitors, all working together.
I wonder if people think this is a little corny. I can admit, it feels awfully rehearsed seeing them all circle around Azula, but I also think they've done a good enough job with the story beforehand to help this feel earned. It's been well established by now how much Azula and Zuko hate each other. She's been relentlessly hunting the gang all episode. She's shown she is exceptionally skilled in combat. Really, the only logical course of action is to all gang up on her. It's also cool we get really quick moments to show Iroh and Toph, who met earlier in the episode, are teamed up with their opponents. Toph doesn't fully understand who Zuko and Iroh are yet, but she does recognize Iroh is seriously hurt by the end of the fight. All without any dialogue too. Azula does this crazy foot crisscross maneuver before she throws out her attack, also without turning her head to directly face Iroh. It's so afterwards, when everyone attacks, this curled up pose transitions into her spiraled flame shield thing she does. Shows us she's thinking ahead. Nice subtle detail that Toph is the only one who doesn't turn her head to watch Iroh go down, because she can see it happening without having to turn her head. The animators are always really smart with Toph like this. Zuko moves 1 frame faster than the others. Azula must have really pissed him off with this one. I'm not super sure what move Toph is doing here. Like, it kinda just looks like sand attack, right? I like how you can see all their bending getting caught up in the vortex of her flame. It's neat. You know, I always thought the explosion was because of all their elements clashing together, but that never really made sense, right? I'm just now wondering if Azula is purposefully making the explosion with fire bending here. No, it's sad. Oh, Zuko being torn up over Iroh is always so dang sad. Also, I like how even though they all teamed up against Azula, it's not like Zuko is ready to join the heroes yet. And in fact, if Iroh hadn't have gotten hurt, I bet he'd start actively chasing down the gang again.
Zuko, I can help!
But I also like that the heroes are willing to try to help Iroh here. No, they probably don't think Zuko has changed, but they're not monsters. The heroes still have a moral compass and don't want to leave someone in agony. And that's how it all ends. You know what's crazy? In my mind, I feel like this fight is like 10 minutes long. It feels like such a big, epic moment, but in actuality, from the first strike that broke the standoff to Zuko yelling leave, it's actually only 2 minutes and 43 seconds. Less than 3 minutes, and yet they packed it full of such cool and iconic moments. I think the most impressive thing is how fast everything is. These characters move quickly, but the animation animation displays the speed of the character's actions without making things blurry or hard to follow. I think it helps that the attacks are big, color-coded, and all three of the main combatants have really distinct styles of movement. Another really fun thing about this fight is how they play with the setting, running in and out of the buildings and alleyways. We don't usually have tight quarters like this for Avatar, and it makes the moment so much more memorable. Last, it's just a really turbulent finale for the episode. It's awfully bittersweet. Like, yeah, the gang make up and they get to go to sleep. Zuko and Iroh are reunited, but also, the gang still have a lot of work to do to get along. Iroh is very injured, and Azula is still out there, and all of them now need to worry about that. Earlier I said this felt like a special mid-season finale or something, and it really does feel that way. This feels like a turning point for the series, and this awesome action scene is a perfect cherry on top. Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Scaring Crows, Not All That Evil, Messiah, Jacob, Ben Sketchbook, Rain, Trash, Wild Pilot, Juan, Bunkin Duncan, Hoodie Angel, Ranger, Sean, Primaroon, Lavaros, Plague, Tyrene, Thanos, Pandemonium, Peter, Aguirre, Eden, Doki Pokey, Moon of Blues, Zappy, Wolfgang, Philip, Mac and Cheese, Lollaroni, Marie Fan, Davy, James, Salty Goat, Nerf Ned, and Video Gamer. What do you think? I've done this with Ruby fights in the past. This is my first time doing something not Ruby related. I'm glad my patrons voted on Avatar, and I'm glad they voted for this fight. What did you think? What do you think of the fight of this? What's your favorite fight from Avatar? I don't know if this is my favorite, but it's definitely like top 10 somewhere. If you want me to analyze other fight scenes from things, leave suggestions in the comments. I would love to see them, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.